Lucas Monteiro, Neru Jacob, Umiciro, Jed Gomes. Gota! Vamos ver você aqui, velho. Jeff Sant, Monday Challenge. Olá, Murilo. Yo. Ana. Dylan Cassano. Hello. Steve Savali, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you around. Nice, nice, nice to have such great and beautiful people to join us for one more live talk. And do you guys know what this is? This is a Cintiq pen, and we're gonna put some fire in our Cintiq pen today because today the guest is a master in cell animation. He's a master illustrator, and I want to talk to him so bad. So let's give it up for this amazing guy. Let's see if he's around. Yeah, he's around. I'm connecting with him. There he is. There
Hey
he
man,
is. How's it going?
good. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's finally great to meet you.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you for having me.
Of course, my pleasure. You're one of those artists that jump into us out of nowhere, and I didn't see you coming, but when you came, it was like a blast for all of the industry. I love seeing your work, I love seeing your stuff. It's super personal, it's super I don't see anywhere else. It's original. I love that.
That's surprising to hear, but I appreciate it.
That's
Yeah.
cool, man. And I have to tell you right out of the bat that you cause me a huge problem with my wife
Oh,
because now I want to put like a container in my backyard and make like my office. And
yes, sir.
what you did that, it's badass. I think it's the most badass office that I ever seen. It's so
Thank
cool.
you, man. Yeah, it's been really, really awesome to have this year, obviously. It just completed building like right before all the craziness hit, So
Uh-huh.
I was able to still work from home, but kind of be away from the kids and the new baby and,
Yeah,
stay focused, which I think everyone's having trouble with, obviously. Um, but yeah, it's been awesome. I love it to death.
that's
So,
great, man. You're in Seattle, right?
yeah. So, yeah, I say Seattle, it's more like, 45 minutes out. It's the suburbs.
Okay, it's Issaquah. I know a little bit of
No,
it. It's
yeah, it's right by Issaquah. So we live in Enumclaw, which is
Oh,
like,
okay, I've heard of it. I've heard of
yeah,
it.
neighboring.
Man,
Yeah, kind of farmy and suburban.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I have a cousin living there. I don't know exactly where she lives, but it's something close to that area. And
totally.
I've been to Seattle once, and I felt in love with the city. I felt in love with the nature, you know.
Yes.
I really wanna come back to do the Sasquatch Trail because I know you guys love
Yeah,
it.
totally. Yeah,
It's pretty
absolutely.
fun, pretty fun. Dude,
Yeah, it's a
so
nice city.
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Hope when this pandemic situation it's behind us, we can grab a cup of coffee in Seattle and
Man, yeah, come out and I'd love to, we can grab lunch or something.
that'll be
Be awesome.
amazing. That'll be amazing.
Yeah.
Dude, there's so many things that I want to ask you, so many things that I want to touch based with you, and I don't even know how to start, but let's do it. First of all, you're doing a lot of cool stuff in cell animation, right? So is this something that you always wanted to do, or do you have like this motion designer background, like the After Effects guy, and you felt bored and suddenly you want to jump to a different thing?
Yeah, good question. Um, I didn't really know any of this was a career.
Uh-huh.
So when I first kind of started, I got an internship at a tech startup and they kind of just needed a creative everything. So I was doing t-shirt design and logo stuff and like some animation. And then eventually we ran into the need for an explainer video.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I didn't know any of what any of this was. So I was studying up on a bunch of cool people. And the first people I ran into were Seth Eckert
Yeah, yeah.
Emmanuel Colombo, who are
Uh-huh.
like amazing. And I was really, really influenced by their work. So I started jumping into very graphic and very After Effectsy motion graphics type stuff.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I did that because that's what I thought there was, period. And I loved it, and I still love it now. But I think as I grew as an artist and was less green or like new, um, I wanted to kind of return to my roots a little bit, and which was just drawing by hand on paper and
Uh-huh.
pencil, like in school. I mean, that's how I got through school. Was like I just drew on every test and whatever. So it just felt more like me to like be a little bit more free. And with Cell you can kind of just do whatever's in your head, and with
Cool.
After Effects it feels a bit more limited, even though it isn't, depending on the artist. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's kind of how it worked.
So you always have this background of an artist. So you always like to draw stuff and to illustrate stuff.
Oh yeah, since I
Yeah.
was born, man. I was
Yeah.
born with a pencil. Yeah,
That's
that's what I
cool.
like to say. Yeah.
That's cool. I believe
Yeah.
that the answer is yes, based on my experience, but I have this question a lot, and I think it's more suitable if I ask you this question because you were
Okay.
the legend in the Photoshop. Do you think it's for a person to do frame by frame animation and to do cell animation, this person needs to be a good illustrator, a good drawer?
I think if I didn't know how to draw previous, then it would take me a lot longer to get
Mm-hmm.
to like a hireable place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I picked up Cell. So I've been drawing my whole life, like my whole life. And then I used to animate in Flash, like little cartoons, like the stick figure fighting and stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
I
Man,
did
that
that
was
when
a
that,
classic.
yeah,
Jesus. Yeah, when I saw
yeah,
it, it blew my mind, man.
yes,
I'm so glad you brought
exactly.
that up. Cool.
Yeah, so that got me really excited on like animating. So
Uh-huh.
I did a bunch of stupid, goofy little cartoons when I was younger. But then
Yeah.
I sort of dropped animation for like 10 years ish. So like, I think it was like 2017 I tried to pick Cell back up again.
Uh-huh.
And because I had those roots, it was like pretty natural and helped me learn it quicker than I think if you don't have that foundation. It probably takes, I mean, it's hard,
It is.
it's hard. So I think it would take a little bit longer to learn. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say it helps for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I've been referring Photoshop all the time, but I don't know your setup. I don't know if you even work in Photoshop. How you do your illustrations, your animations? What's your setup in terms of softwares?
Yeah, so I do a lot of it in Photoshop. Illustrating is Photoshop. I barely use Illustrator anymore, but I know how to because of
Mm-hmm.
all the motion graphic stuff.
Sure.
Or Procreate. I'm big on Procreate too.
Oh, that's cool, man.
I like it for illustrating. Now, when it gets to animation, it's a little bit,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But illustrating, it's been really strong. Animation, yeah, I do it in Photoshop. I don't love the timeline, but there's like plugins and things that make it a little
That
bit
yeah.
easier to use.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm big on Adobe Animate too. I use it a lot because you can retain vector and like
Sure. Keep
a
the
little bit,
lines more, smooth.
yeah, like a cleaner style. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's a give and take depending on the job.
Do you have a preference between both?
That's a great question. I like the timeline. I like the timeline in Animate because you can just fly through it, and it's like that's kind of what it was built
Yeah,
for. But
yeah,
drawing is so much better in Photoshop. So
yeah.
I think that's the kind of the constant battle. Um, so again, I use both like every day, daily.
Cool.
So I don't
So
know.
Adobe, I'm pretty sure Adobe is listening to us. So Adobe,
Cool.
please mix it up both and do like a different software for us to, like to be in heaven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be amazing. Yeah, totally.
That's amazing. That's cool.
Yeah.
And how do you, because I know you always like it was a illustrator previously, and when you start to dive into the animation world, how did you got comfortable with timing? Because I know timing in cell animation timing in animation in general, like we have like the anticipation and everything, but to achieve the same result that you achieve in After Effects, it's a different thing, because I have to do more drawings, for the easies part.
Totally.
How did you get comfortable working in Photoshop and figuring out the timings and
Honestly, when I was using After Effects, I don't really understand the graph editor like still. So I was like just breaking it until it looked cool. So I like to say I kind of work off of intuition.
cool.
Um, I don't really know any of the rules, you know. I understand the physics of it, but I couldn't list out all the rules on paper. Um, which is, I don't know. I mean, that's just how I did it. I don't recommend that. Um, I think I like to just watch people,
Yeah.
like observe how things, are in the real world. And oftentimes we sort of imitate that in animation, or you like start there and then you can make it more
Uh-huh.
exaggerated or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of my short answer is like, that's
I
how I learned.
no, but
Yeah.
I totally agree with you because I don't have the base as well. I can like give a class or a speech about this fundamentals part of animation
Yeah.
because I don't know the names. So I feel like it works this way. You can understand the whole thing and the whole concept of animation and study, like the what's the name of that book? It's an amazing book, like the Survival Kit for Animators.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
amazing, amazing stuff. I highly recommend. But if you don't have the feeling,
Yeah.
of what thing's gonna sound right, or I think feeling it's like 80% of the job.
Yeah. Totally.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And do you watch reference? Are you a cartoon guy, anime guy?
Another good question. Not really. I'd
Really?
say growing up, I wasn't even really into animation. I sort of fell in love with motion graphics version of animation,
That's cool,
but
man. I'm
like I'm
surprised to
not,
hear that.
yeah, I wasn't super into Disney and I wasn't super into anime.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was just more so like skateboarding pretty much.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't know. So when I saw motion graphics, it just was like a way to be creative and still like take care of my family essentially, which was what I had been searching for. And
Yeah.
then I was like, that kind of lit the flame, which then started the passion. And now I love it.
That's cool,
Um,
man.
yeah, it's interesting.
That's cool. And as
Yeah.
a creative mind, do you seek maybe in the future, not a very long future, but do you seek to apply different techniques to your work, like maybe adding more 3D or maybe adding some, I don't know, stop motion or
Yeah. So, yeah, I think so. I think I'm at a point now, which might sound silly because I'm still like new, but I feel like I'm at a point where I understand what my strengths are and what
hmm
other people's strengths are. And like I'm really comfortable with that. So if I need 3D, which I've done projects where it's a mix of 2D, 3D, and like big ones, and it turned out really well, but it was like I just hired somebody that knew how to do 3D.
cool.
Yeah, and work with them. And I at this point it's like if I need 3D, I'll pay somebody who's good at it to do it
Yeah.
versus like me going out and learning it.
Uh-huh.
Um, maybe that will change if it has to.
Mm,
I'm not against learning, but
uh-huh.
I love what I do and I want to keep getting better at like what I do.
That's cool. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm asking that because recently you just launched this project for I think Microsoft, right? If I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. Yeah. And it has a bunch of different styles in there. We have a
Yeah.
3D and we have one of your characters in there like cell animated. It's
Yeah.
it's it's amazing.
Yeah.
How did that come about? The idea of bringing people with different strengths came from you, or this is something that the client wanted to approach?
Uh, I I don't know that I could take credit for that, but it came from the client, but they were inspired by something they had already seen on my site. So
Okay.
I had done smaller, for fun
Yeah, I
collaborations
saw
with,
you did some stuff with Steve, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and a few others of just like I drew a style frame, and then I said, hey, let's mix 3D in here and whatever. And so they sort
Mm-hmm.
of combine and mix, and then we animate it and kind of work back and forth in tandem with each other.
That's cool.
Um, and they turned out really fun. So I think the client had saw that on my site and then said, "Hey, we want to do like a 5 minute piece of this," and I was like, "That's the craziest thing I've ever heard." But it sounded super fun, and so it was a lot of kind of working it out, but it ended up turning out good somehow. Like one of those stars aligned jobs, where it's
Yeah,
like it actually worked. So yeah,
it was cool. How long was that project, like the producing part?
production was 1 month, but
One
we
month?
had crazy again, but I brought on like 12 people to help.
Okay, of
So
course.
the budget was right. I mean, if the budget was wrong, I would have been like, dude, there's no way I can do this,
Yeah, of
obviously.
course.
So that was another lucky thing. And then it was like I happened to find talent that was available, and they were stoked. And like I was directing, but I brought on people that were like willing to help me direct. So, the agency brought me on, and I
Uh-huh.
brought on what I like to call like subsections of teams, right? So
Oh, okay.
I had the cell team, the After Effects team, and then the 3D team,
Uh-huh.
and then the After Effects also doubled as like compositing.
Okay.
Um, and so I would kind of attack each of those sections individually, and then at the very end, they were all kind of interweaving and communicating with each other. But I had select individuals that were like maybe getting a higher day rate that were helping me direct those individual teams like underneath me a little bit.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so there was like a really good structure that I think worked I somehow really well. I mean, you don't know when you're hiring somebody if they're willing to
Yeah.
take a little bit more responsibility,
Uh-huh.
but we just found people that were like so down to help and believed in the project, and it worked out really well. No overtime, or at least not for them. I think I was doing it a lot, but
Uh-huh.
yeah. Anyway,
And how was for you this experience of directing? I know you have like we had a lot of people to help you out, but you direct this piece and you also was hands-on. So how was
yeah.
this experience, man? It was like stressful in a way, or
Oh yeah, yeah. And I also had like three other projects going on at the time too, so it was
Jesus, man, yeah.
yeah, it was hard, but I'm so glad this project specifically that I took it, because when you get these big crazy asks, it's so
Uh-huh.
easy to just be like, "Oh, come on." Like you're just joking or whatever and just write it off. But
Uh-huh.
for whatever reason I decided to kind of see it through. And then it just sort of snowballed into like more and more and more responsibility on my end.
That's cool.
Um, but it helped me grow like a lot by the end of it. So I feel a lot more competent now if I were to get a similar
Uh-huh.
ask than before. And I feel like if you don't stretch your wings, you never kind of, or at least for me, I learned through experience. So if I don't have that experience,
You'll never
then
learn.
yeah, I would have never learned otherwise. So, yeah, I mean, there have been a few smaller directing jobs previous where I brought on a few people to help, but
Uh-huh.
I always wanted, like, I love directing and I love kind of learning from it, but I
Uh-huh.
don't want to give up animating. I don't want to give up illustrating. And I feel like there's that stigma where you kind of do one or the other, or like you start a studio and you don't even touch the work anymore or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so I don't like doing that. So I just say I assign myself the shots, or I say I'm illustrating it because I'm into the idea or whatever, and then
Yeah.
just working. I mean, just getting it done.
Dude, that's crazy, man. And
Yeah.
was that the your biggest project by any chance, or
Oh yeah, biggest in terms of budget and team for
and
sure.
team for
Yeah.
sure? And when you
Yeah.
get this like the this request, like the inquiry from this client, specifically like Microsoft's a big one client. When
Yeah.
you got like a inquiry from a client like that, how that made you feel? Did you feel like happy, scared, anxious? What was the most what happened inside your head?
Well, initially, this was one of those weird COVID projects where it's like should have been live action, but
Okay.
they needed animation.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, and because of the timestamp, the 5-minute mark. I sort of was like, this isn't even serious. So I was replying, but I do this often where I'll reply to every email I get, but if I like to kind of feel out where they're at in terms of what they're able to spend or if they're able
Uh-huh.
to cover
Uh-huh.
my time or the team's time. And so if you throw out like, hey, this is sort of my starting rate or budget for this kind of ask, and they get scared off, then great, they're scared off. They didn't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I did something like that, and then they came back like great or whatever, and like ready to push forward. And then I was like, okay, cool, because it's validating a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh, they think I can handle this, which is I appreciated that, but also it's like, can I handle this? And that's like a little bit scary too,
Yeah.
you know? So, but I don't know, I guess I was like stoked to dive in and like, if it turns out cool, great. If it turns out like not as cool as I want, the client probably doesn't even know anyway.
Uh-huh.
And then, or if it crashes and burns, then it's like, ooh, I shouldn't have taken it. But it ended up going good, luckily. I don't know, man. It ended up working out. So,
That's cool, man. That's cool.
yeah.
And you've been working with a lot of studios, and
Uh,
now you've been working with your own clients. What's
yeah.
the biggest difference between studio work and client work?
Good question. I mean, I started more traditionally with just like regular studio bookings.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the biggest difference, like from a technical standpoint, is you're billing a specific way. You're
Mm-hmm.
on a job for a certain amount of days, and it shouldn't be that you are responsible for the success of the project. You're responsible for your tiny sliver of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they have other freelancers and staff people that are also on it and directing, and you're, like in my case, mostly animating or illustrating. And then you send your files and they cut your check and you kind of move on.
Mm-hmm.
Which is I love and it's fun. And a lot of times it's like, if you're working with a good studio, you'll get the most time to like really pound away at a shot and like make it cool,
Mm-hmm.
because they might have 5 other animators and you have this shot, this chunk of shots, and like, here's 3 weeks,
Yes.
whereas
Have fun.
if I was on my, yeah, exactly. And
Uh-huh.
if I was on my own, I might have a week if I'm lucky or whatever. So um I love it still, and I really love working with studios, especially ones that appreciate your time.
That's cool.
But when you're working with, you know, I guess a client or an agency, in a lot of cases, it's like they're essentially coming to you to do the job, to fill the job that they don't think they can do themselves, or they're too
Yeah.
busy or whatever. And so that comes with learning how to bid and estimate a project, and finding the right talent and staffing it if you need, and figuring out the schedule and deadlines, and making sure
Mm-hmm.
you're hitting client revisions and checkup points, and a lot of client facing meetings, like figuring out how to articulate your creative ideas, and a lot of different things that I enjoy. They're just like outside of the pencil and the paper and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um so I don't know that it was a I mean, I think I always knew I wanted to move in like more of a directing role, but I don't know that
Yeah.
it was a goal. Like, I never emailed and said, let me direct. It was more
Sure.
like, as opportunities presented themselves, I wasn't scared away. I just took everything.
That's
And
cool.
sometimes it goes wrong, it crashes and burns, or sometimes you overbook and then clients get upset. But you learn from those moments, and
Uh-huh.
you try and do better next time, or navigate or grow. Um,
That's cool, man.
yeah,
And that's something that you want to explore more like the directing side of Reese. You want to do more directing stuff and
I think so. Again, because it scratches a little bit of a different itch,
uh-huh.
and it's cool to pursue a little bit more of the business end of things as opposed to letting teams handle it for you.
Yeah.
You know, at least if anything, just to learn it, and eventually maybe I'll be like, hey, this is getting way over my head, or I don't
Mm-hmm.
actually like any of this stuff. And then hopefully I can scale down and just be like, listen, I'm just taking
Mm-hmm.
studio bookings. Like, I don't do any of this stuff anymore because it's too much of a headache.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
I think that's a lot of people's responses too, because I don't think I'm special. Like, I'm not the only one getting these asks. I'm
Uh-huh.
just like diving into them because I like to see where they'll take me, as opposed to being like, I already know I don't like it, or I'm scared, or I don't want to take it on for whatever reason. So
That's cool.
um, as they come in, I'll take them if they're the right fit. Again, there's a specific budget and whatever that needs to be met in order to make it worth my time too. Um,
Uh-huh.
anyway, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, I answered your question.
No, no, of course. And we've seen that because you just answered that, like a personal project led you to this huge project with Microsoft. So
Oh yeah.
what's your take on personal projects? Like, do you love doing personal projects? What's the specs of personal projects do you enjoy doing more? Like, do like short stuff? Do you want to do stuff in a large scale?
Yes, yes to everything. First, I think they're absolutely a necessity. I have people reaching out to me and asking, "How do you find clients? How have you been successful? How did you, get work so quickly or build a portfolio?" And
Mm-hmm.
all of my freelance work has come because I just sat and twiddled and did like little personal things for like a year. And my wife was
Mm-hmm.
paying the bills, and like I was just in the office like tick, 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 like
Mm-hmm.
making like goofy little loops or whatever that I could post on Instagram. And then eventually led to like working with Buck. I mean, I didn't have a client before
See?
essentially. So it's so, and even since then I've kept that mindset of like, first of all, client work can drain you. You know what I mean? It can be
Yeah.
like I need to bang my head through the wall or whatever because it's just like things are
Mm-hmm.
going wrong, or like I want to make something cooler, but they just won't let me. And like, but I also want to make them happy. So it's like you got to, find this level between
Yeah.
creatively satisfied and like being professional and delivering what they're paying for. So personal stuff is just a way to escape. And I'm only good at like little tiny things because for whatever reason I can't figure out how to motivate myself yet to do something long form, which
Uh-huh.
I'm so desperate to do that because I want to make something that's like, a super cool short film, and like I spent
That
a whole bunch of time on it, and like I wasn't online for like 6 months, and like, I made
uh-huh.
this thing. But on paper, it's so easy to say that you're gonna
It
do it,
is.
and then when the time comes, it's like, oh, I'll just take this project, or I'll
Yeah.
just take this one.
Yeah.
So it's harder to do long form, but short form stuff is like constant. Like I'm always doing a collaboration with somebody, or just working on an illustration or like a little thing because it helps me get jobs to this day
Of
still,
course. Of
and it
course.
helps me feel like I'm not just a monkey that draws other people's lines. It's like
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
it makes you feel a little bit more artistic.
I know I think it's the best way for you to try new things. Like if you want
Yeah.
to try texture or whatever, like a different brush or whatever. But it's the best way for you to put everything from your soul, without having clients, asking you to pixel fuck your beautiful
Yeah.
art, like, oh, can you change
Yeah.
this? Can you change that? Like, so, man, I'm 100% on board with you on this. And
Yeah.
that leads me to another question because you were a very like you were a father of two. You have a wife. You have a job. So how do you keep motivation to keep doing personal projects and to keep putting content out there? Do you think this is like some sort of a investment? This is your rep, like rep trying to sell your job, like
Yeah.
your craft?
Yeah. The question is specifically about personal work versus client work and how am I motivated to still do
Yeah,
personal, or is
yeah.
it
No,
all of
it's
it?
it's 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 kind of all of it. How you keep yourself motivated into this industry that sometimes can be overwhelmed and can be stressful. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Good question. For me, I think it shifts and changes. At first, it was like, I want to be respected. I want to be understood as capable. I want to work with people that I look up to and like
Hmm.
perform at a level that I think they're expecting. And as you do a little bit more of that and get more comfortable, naturally you want to do bigger things and move more and more and more or whatever, raise your rates, or like,
Hmm.
I think I'm cool now, so I'm worth this much money or whatever. But as like I went through all of those things. I think what keeps me motivated now is like, raising my family. So it's like, this
That's
is our
cool.
income. So that's a huge one. Um, Outside of that, it's like, I love it. I have fun doing it. And I didn't go to school. I didn't have any career potential outside of this.
Mm-hmm.
I was like shoveling dirt. I was cleaning Taco Bell bathrooms for like years. I was lazy and undriven. So I think when I found this, it was like, okay, I understand like what I was meant to be doing, and I'm just
Yeah,
gonna go. I'm just gonna go, 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 go nonstop. So I think that's kind of what it's been. And I just keep pushing to grow because I think ultimately that's kind of what I'm addicted to is like growing and learning, growing and learning, growing and learning,
that's cool,
hitting a,
man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it changes, but
That's
hopefully that,
cool. That's cool.
yeah,
No, it paid off, man, because we can see through your work a lot of passion. We can see that you're putting a lot of effort. Like for me, for example, for myself, I admire people that do cell animation so much because it's something that I've done a lot in the past. Like during my time at Buck, of course, you have to be working with cell animators because you want to keep trying to prove yourself.
yeah,
But it's dude, it's crazy. It's a lot of
yeah,
frames, it's a
yeah,
lot of time sitting there and doing a lot of it's involves a lot of patience and involves a lot of now I understand more about your container outside of the house,
yeah,
so because you have to
yeah,
be more there and it's great,
totally.
man. It's so cool. It's so cool.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for being so nice, dude. You're like a living legend, so
No,
it
I'm
means a
not.
lot.
I'm not.
You are.
I'm just talking to the legends. That's and I have a
No,
bunch of legends here talking to you as well. There's a bunch of people sending love. Man, Steve Saval, man, he's a beast. Great animator. Wonderful.
love him.
Sarah, hi Sarah. She's man, another
She's amazing.
amazing
Yeah,
designer, illustrator.
yes.
Like, man, there's a lot of people here. Just wanted to hear your talk, man. It's amazing. So
Much love,
anyway,
friends.
yeah, yeah. And how do you feel about your our industry actually? Have you been to Blend yet?
I went this last year.
Yeah, how do you like it?
I loved it.
It's amazing,
Um,
right?
so inspiring, and it was cool to see like nerdy all your heroes. It feels a little bit nerdy to say it, but
It was
really,
so
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, everybody that's doing the coolest work, and like you get to meet and shake their hands and say what's up, and like I love this thing, and I'd love to work with you or whatever. And I don't know, it's everybody's cool, and that's what I love about this industry is like
Uh-huh.
I've been accepted with open arms for the most part, and that doesn't mean I haven't made like wrong steps or whatever that made
Uh-huh.
people upset, but for the most part people have been so kind and like willing to hire me and give me a shot, regardless of me not interning anywhere or like being so green or not knowing how to render something properly or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like they're like, we understand that we think you're capable and we'll help you. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I love the industry and I try to do that too. I mean, I get a lot of people reach out to me, even though I don't think I'm qualified, but they ask me how to do something or business advice for whatever reason. I get
Uh-huh.
a lot of that. And I help as much as I possibly can because I want to see people get a better deal or like,
That's cool.
help people. Hey, you need to be raising your rate. You're worth it or whatever. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Man, I wish you
it's
could
a,
have like blends more often.
oh man. Yeah,
Yeah.
me
I'm
too.
gonna talk
Yeah.
to Jorge
Please.
next week. I'm gonna give him
Yes.
a little speech and say, "Come on, man, you have to do this yearly." Because I
Absolutely.
missed
Yeah.
I missed last edition. It was last year, I think. Last year, right?
Yeah. 20. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, last year. So yeah, I couldn't go, but man, I went to
Shoot.
the version prior to that. It was like
I'm sure all of
so
them were
good,
like insane. Yeah. Yeah.
so good,
And
amazing.
it was a, yeah.
And now that you are officially part of this amazing industry and you are one of the badasses in this amazing industry, do you see a downside of the motion graphics and the animation industry? Is there any downside for you?
Hmm.
I know it's a
Let's
tough question.
see.
Because I've been asking that for myself for a very long time.
I kind of I think the fact that it's a little bit like wild wild west, no
Hmm.
rules and no there's like no traditions because there hasn't been a long enough to even have
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Um, I think I personally respond kind of well to that because you're sort of able to experiment and like your own career and like you could go this way where somebody else went that way.
uh-huh,
Um, and it's like freeing in that way, but it can also maybe be considered a negative because it's like confusing for new people
uh-huh,
or um, I don't know, like maybe you make too many wrong turns and then just people don't want to hire you anymore. It's like you maybe you felt like you didn't
yeah,
have the guidance,
uh-huh,
or like I don't know. This is all from experience because I came at it at such a weird angle, you know, like I entered
yeah.
this way when everybody else is going this way. So maybe I'm speaking, you know, I'm kind of uneducated on the matter. I mean, there's obviously the route where you like go to SCAD and you meet all the motion heads and you get your internship and then you do it a few times and then like you
Uh-huh,
get your staff job and then you pretty much understand what's going on, you get better and then you freelance. I mean, to
yeah,
me that's kind of what I've heard is like the route that makes sense. Um, I don't know. I think I'm rambling. I don't know about any like obvious downsides. I guess as a remote freelancer, it can be kind of lonely, but I try to
yeah.
stay at least like digitally connected with
Achieve,
people that
yeah,
people that
with
I
people.
admire and stuff,
That's great, man.
which
That's
helps. I think that's what you're trying to do now, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I've been working from home for 5 years now. I kind of miss to
Yeah,
having this connection with people, and that's
yeah.
why I think like festivals like Blend, it's very important to keep our not
Oh
only
yeah.
our creativity on point, but to keep our uh, mentally health, you know,
Oh,
mental
that's
health.
something yeah, to speak to that. Not that I've had any mental health issues, but I could totally see that being
Uh-huh.
like a problem because it's like
Yeah.
I used to be well, I don't want to get into that, but I used to be super active and like my whole
Mm-hmm.
life was skateboarding and I was like pursuing that like an athlete. And
Uh-huh.
then you know, a bunch of sitting doesn't help you, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe something about balancing, especially when you're a freelancer. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
for me it's been so hard to figure that out and kind of
Yeah,
get,
I've
get
read that somewhere. Oh man, I hate when I forgot things. It's pretty cool. Like it's not a
yeah,
problem. It becomes a problem when you love something too much, you know,
yeah,
because you get too attached to it, you know. So if you love, like for
yes,
example, I got my face that I was so passionate about like motion graphics that I wanted to
uh-huh,
keep doing like 24/7, and it was not beneficial for my health, was not beneficial
right,
for my mental health because I got too emotional attached to the feedbacks that I would get from a project,
yeah,
you know.
yes.
So every time that I release something out there, I was like, oh my god, what they're gonna think. So
Yeah,
that could lead to a problem, you know. Like so,
totally.
yeah, we should not be. We should have like the healthy level of passion, you know,
Yeah,
to it, and try not to.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can be really, really hard
That can be
just
a
to
problem.
balance. Yeah.
Totally, totally agree with
Good
you.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for how long? Like the animation and
So I guess you would say professionally for like
yes,
maybe 3.5 years. I mean, I picked up
really. Wow,
first time I
that's
touched After Effects was 2016 or something, and then I like
Jesus, man.
jammed on it for a year straight, like banging my head trying to learn it. And then I got clients the next year. So yeah, like 3.5 years ish, maybe coming up on 4.
That's cool, man. That's cool. And do you have
But again, but again, I don't think that like I was drawing like my whole life, like
no, I know, but for
you know what I
example,
mean?
because I know a lot of talented people, they ask me all the time if they should be doing like a college or they should be doing like a specific kind of course. And I say to them, you don't need to, you don't have to, unless
Yeah,
you wanna, you know, get some more experience, like I don't know, because today it's kind of hard to answer this question because today we have a lot of information in the internet, you know,
yeah,
You have like a lot of schools out there, like School of Motion, Mograph Mentor.
Yeah,
So you have information out there, right?
yeah, totally. And
And
I wish I would have done like a school of motion or something because
yeah.
I think it would have. It's I route, like traditional versions of schooling.
Hmm.
I've heard school of motion is like a really, really good alternative. So for anyone that's like maybe can't afford the regular school, which was my case,
Hmm.
that's probably a great route, at least these days.
Yeah, man, I totally agree with you. And do you have like now that you are in this specific time in the industry and you've been being recognized and people are noticing your work, you're out there, do you have some goals for the future? Do you see yourself like
Um,
in 5 years with a studio or with a what do you want to take from this?
I think this is something I've kind of been struggling a little bit with lately.
Yeah.
I had specific goals for last year, like really hardcore chasing them, working all the time, and I hit my goals. And then since then, it's been a little bit like felt a little bit more lost, I guess.
Uh-huh.
I mean, on paper, yeah, I do want to open a studio, but I don't know that I want to rush into that. I
Yeah.
don't know
No,
that
you
I don't
you're
know.
super young. You don't have to rush at all.
Yeah, and like maybe eventually that's not something I will end up wanting to do. So
No.
it's definitely on the back of my mind, but not something that I'm like sprinting to go and start.
Hmm.
I want to keep learning, that I want to always be a student, and just trying to get better and better and better,
Hmm.
and better on the other side too, better at managing and making clients happy and figuring out what to charge and what's fair and treating artists like when I hire artists,
Hmm.
it's like I really want to be on their side because I've been there in their shoes. So
Yeah.
like I try to be real team artist over like, hey, like I don't know, trying to appreciate them and approach them individually and understand what they react and respond to, you know, over and you know what I mean? Oh, did I
You fr
lose you?
you know, you froze a little bit, but
No,
you're
there you
back.
go.
You're back. You're back.
Okay, cool. Anyway, I don't know. Where did you last hear?
I'm sorry to cut you, but I have a really nice request here from Guy Kaugi.
Cool.
Hey Reese, show us your studio. Can you do that?
Sure. Okay. Um, so I guess let's see what you can see. So,
Yeah.
can I flip it or something?
Yeah, I think if you, yeah, that's it. Perfect.
Okay. So like, this is my work setup on this side. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I've got like art and whatever, just my
I
computer
love
and
I love
stuff.
your table. It's
Thanks,
beautiful,
man.
man. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a standing desk, which is cool.
that's cool.
Yeah, art from a bunch of friends. There's Sarah's stuff and
Uh-huh.
Dreplin, whatever. I've got like schedule and whiteboard, just some cool whatever hanging up, guitar. This is like a chill section, couch,
Render time.
games. Yeah, totally games and whatever. It's like I'm renting a space just kind of like in the forest. So it's just
Oh,
like,
that's cool, man.
yeah, it's just out here. Here's like my logo and whatever. So
That's
yeah, man,
amazing.
I love it.
That's cool.
That that's the mini tour.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
You don't have any visits from bears where you're renting your space, do you?
Maybe in the night. Maybe in the night. I'm not sure.
That's cool, man. Yeah, so man, I want to open for some questions from people
Cool.
here.
Let's
Uh,
do it.
let me see one cool here. Sarah said that we should collab, man. I totally agree with her. Let's do something.
Yes. Please. I'm
They'll,
in.
they'll be amazing.
Absolutely. That'd be super fun.
Sarah, she's amazing. Let me just pull up because I saw a bunch of questions, but this it's this. Um, uh, Iskitsishan, I don't know. I'm sorry, mispronouncing your name, but he says where he can see the Microsoft project. I believe on your website, right?
Yeah, my site, it's up, or
Hmm.
Vimeo.
Yeah,
Yep.
cool. So Reese, this is from D again. Do you need to manage the complexity of your illustration and animation based on the budget and deadline of the project? How do you do that?
That's a good question. First, I would say I manage the complexity of my illustration based on my own like restrictions, like my skill set first. But if the budget allows for something a little bit more intense or like a little
Hmm.
bit more time on the shots, I think it's a good opportunity to push yourself, or like maybe I hire somebody that's way better at illustrating than me and like I feel comfortable animating. I would say most of my projects that I've illustrated are more so dictated by my own skill set and taste too. But like I feel like those are kind of intertwined. You know, your skill set and your taste sort of meet and do this a lot.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I don't know. I'd like to do stuff that's more complicated. I just don't know how. Not. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, here from Steve Savali. Thoughts on learning good business practices. Oops, it goes up. Practice as a freelancer.
Yeah, uh, this is such a hard one. I feel like I've been really blessed because my dad's like a legit CEO. He's like a businessman for sure,
Uh-huh,
through and through. And he raised me like hard work and, the traditional kind of whole thing. And I hated it when I was a kid. But
uh-huh.
now that I'm older, he's like such a well of knowledge. So
Yeah.
anytime I feel like I'm in a rut, it's like I just got to call him and he'll
Uh-huh.
have some advice. And sometimes it applies and sometimes it doesn't, being like a different industry. But
Yeah.
it's seriously, I feel like, given me a leg up on the business end of things over, I'd say, maybe most of the industry, unfortunately. I understand the business side is like something most of us don't even like or don't like
Yeah.
to identify as. It's a
Yeah.
little bit dirty, they want to be a through and through like artist. Um, I think what I would say is it's important and it's empowering when you understand how to run your business. If you're freelancing, you are a business. Um, in terms of, I don't know, we need a course or something. Somebody needs to put out something
Dude,
that's like,
I totally agree, man.
yeah, because
Yeah, because
yeah,
it's
I mean, it's,
it's I think that's, if I could say, the down part of our industry, it would be that, because we
yeah,
have to deal with numbers, we have to deal
yes,
with the boring part, contracts and
yeah,
stuff like that, so that's the boring part for me. It's
yeah,
not it's
totally.
not it's not fun at all. And I have
Yeah,
a great question here, man. I'm gonna throw you under the bus now.
cool.
Do you have any tutorial video online or any plan to make one or a course? I'm adding this course after the
Yeah, I have like a super antiquated, outdated Skillshare class from
uh-huh.
like way long ago when I had no business teaching one. So I don't know that I would suggest watching it, but there is one on Skillshare if you search Reece Parker. Um, I've been meaning to do more and I enjoy it. It's one of those things where it's like falls through the wayside when you get more projects. It's like
Hmm.
just the priority isn't there.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's something I enjoy for sure. I don't know that
that's
I'm good at it, but I like it.
that's cool, man. Sharing is it's the best.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
from Ant Blue Junior, you mentioned juggling multiple projects at once. Did you just sacrifice sleep to meet all the project's deadlines? How do you do that?
Um, there's kind of a science to it, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just jump in unwilling or unknowingly and like take everything because, yeah, either you'll lose sleep, which I love sleep. So rarely do I lose sleep unless like I absolutely have to, which sometimes that is the case. But if you're smart about understanding the job, understanding the deliverable, understanding the schedule,
Yeah.
clients are hiring you to get the work done. And sometimes you're on a day rate, you might be a little bit more attached to like we need your time during this chunk. And you have to be wary of when that is and when that's not actually the case.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can say, hey, this for the most of this day, I'm doing, a chunk of this project. I'm going to get lots done. And then tomorrow I'll transition to something else and get lots done. And then the next day I'll do a bit of both. Or that's kind of how I do it. But there have been times where it was like 2 traditional studio bookings, and that typically doesn't go well, especially if they don't know, which I
Uh-huh.
tried to at the time. I don't really do this anymore where it's like
Yeah, yeah,
booked by 2, especially if they're reputable studios, because it's like you're just signing up for a whole bunch of trouble. But I have done it, and they knew about it, but they hired me anyway. And then they ended up getting upset at me regardless, even though I got the work done. It was just a little bit
yeah.
later in the evening because I needed
Uh-huh.
to spend time on it at night. And
Yeah.
I thought that they understood that, but the lack of communication kind of got me into some trouble. So,
Uh-huh.
lesson learned, but you just have to be really smart about what you're signing on for. And then I think it's manageable if you like to work,
Man,
you know?
totally agree, man. It's
Yeah,
learning. We're learning all the time. That's a
yeah,
good part about
totally.
this thing.
Yeah,
So, Reese, man, I want to thank you so much for making the
yeah,
time to be on this with us and to share your knowledge, your insights. It's amazing to hear from you.
absolutely.
It's so good to finally meet you because I've been following your work for a very long time now. And man, thank you so
You
much.
as well. Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. You are an absolute legend. And the interviews have been awesome. I've been loving, just watching everybody else. And hopefully this wasn't a boring ending to an awesome week.
No, man,
Um,
come on. It was
yeah,
amazing.
that was
Perfect
good.
ending. Perfect ending.
Awesome. Awesome.
People
Thank
are
you,
saying a
man.
lot of loves here, so everyone loved. Man, you're the
Much
best.
love, Ariel. Much love, everybody.
You
Yeah.
too, buddy. We'll talk soon, man.
All right. Yes. Keep in touch. Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone. Bye bye.